Good. Good. So how is everyone doing? I believe everyone is doing good. And this is our first class. Okay. So, and what I would recommend everyone is, right, so once we are done with the class, so whatever hands-on that was given for you, so make sure that you are completing those hands-on as we discussed in our right orientation day, right? So please make sure that, so once the class is completed, please complete the hands-on so that you can absorb all of those concepts very well. Okay. So that's it. And if you guys have any sort of questions or something like that, don't hesitate to ask those questions once we are done with the session, right? So there will be dedicated support available throughout the day. Good. So with this, I'm starting the session. Let me quickly share my screen and I believe you will see my screen. Okay. Yep. Good. Okay. Right. So before we start a session, right? So going deep into other concepts and all of that. So let's start with the basics. Okay. So what is the basics, right? First, before knowing what Salesforce is, so there is something that we should be knowing, which is what a CRM is. Okay. So we should be knowing what a CRM is, right? So why? Because Salesforce is world's #1 CRM. Probably you could have heard this somewhere, right? So people might have told you, right? So Salesforce is world's #1 CRM and all of that. Okay. So world's #1 CRM. But what is CRM? Okay. So you should be knowing that first so that you'll get some idea, right? So why businesses use Salesforce and all of that. Okay. So let's consider one example for that. Okay. So say, for example, you are running a bike manufacturing company. Okay. So you have a business and that business manufactures bikes. Okay. So if you manufactures bikes, okay. So what do you generally do, right? So you'll manufacture it. Once that manufacturing is done, right? So you have to sell those bikes, right? So at the end of the day, so every business has to sell it. I mean, like sell their product in order to make some sort of money in return. Okay. So first thing what they'll do. Okay. So in order to sell their bikes or something like that, first thing what they'll do, right? So they have to create some sort of awareness in the market. Okay. So they have to create some sort of awareness in the market so that people will get to know there is some bike. Okay. So that they can buy. Okay. So what is this awareness we call as, right? So generally we call this awareness as, right, creation of awareness as marketing. Okay. So we call that as marketing. Okay. So now, right, so we created the awareness, right? So how, so I mean, like what all ways you can create awareness, right? So there are multiple ways, right? You can run TV ads, right? Or maybe you can run radio ads, right? So, or maybe you can run digital ads, right? Digital ads in the sense, right? So ads that we see on YouTube, right? Facebook and all other platforms. Okay. So these ads, we call them as digital ads, right? So, or maybe newspaper ads, right? This way, what you'll do, right? You will create some sort of awareness in the market. Okay. So then people will get to know about your bikes, and then what will happen, right? They will reach out to you. Okay. So, hey boss, I have seen your ad. So I just want to know more about, your bikes. Could you please tell me what this bike will do? And right, so where all I can ride this bike, what is the cost of this bike and blah, 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 and all of that, right? People will have a lot of questions, right? So then they will reach out to you. Okay. So once they reach out to you, then what you'll do, right? You will start selling your bikes to them. Okay. So that's where, right, sales comes into picture. Okay. That's where what will happen, right? Sales comes into picture. In sales, what you'll do, right? You'll sell your product to the customer. Okay. So now awareness is, right, created in the market. People are reaching out to you. Okay. So now, right. So what is selling is all about? Selling is all about, right, educating the customer, right? So more about your product. Okay. So, and at the same time, right, if they have any sort of objections, right, so you'll handle those objections. Okay. So to sell that particular product, right? So, and at the same time, right, you'll provide some kind of offer, right? So in order to close that particular deal and all of that, right? So we call all of that as sales function. Okay. So, and then, right, so just selling your product is not just enough, right? To build a great brand. Okay. So you also have to provide great customer service. Okay, so now you have created awareness in the market, people have reached out to you, right? Say for example, right, your ads have reached to 10 lakh people. Okay, so 10 lakh or 1 million people, right? So out of those 1 million people, say for example, 10,000 people have reached out to you. Okay, so 10K people have reached out to you. Okay, so now what your sales team has done, right? Your sales team has sold, I'm like, so try to sell your product to this 10K people, and out of this 10K people, say for example, 1,000 people have purchased your bike. Okay, so do you think, right, so the it stops just after selling? No, right? So these 10,000, these 1,000 people will start using your bikes, and once they start using your bikes, definitely they'll get some sort of issues in the future, right? So issues in the sense, not just issues, right? So their bikes might need some sort of maintenance, or their, right, so they might have so some sort of punctures, and you might have to help them with those punctures and all of that, right? So, or anything, right? They might want to upgrade their bike to next level or something like that. So then what they'll do, right? They'll again reach out to you. Okay, so that's when customer service comes into picture. Okay, so that's when what will happen, right? Customer service comes into picture. The better you provide the customer service, okay, the better you provide the customer service, the, right, the longer the customer stays with your business. Okay, so and there are more chances that those people become loyal to your business, right? Loyal to your bikes, and they might end up becoming advocates for your business, right? So advocate means what? They'll go and tell about your business to more people, right? About your product, or your, about your bikes to more people, so that more people can come and buy your bikes. Okay, buy your product. Okay, so these are the three major core functions that any business will have, right? Not just bike manufacturing company, right? So you name any business, right? You name any business, right? So what do you have, right? You will have marketing, you'll have sales, and you'll have customer service as the core functions for any sort of the business, right? Whether you are a bike manufacturing company, or you are a phone right, manufacturing company, or you are some sort of service provider who is providing services, right, so to your prospective customers, or, right, so to maybe to your customers, or whatever it could be. But, right, these three are the major core functions that every business will have, right? Marketing, sales, and customer service, right? So now, right, so if your business is small, okay, if your business is small, then, right, so how you'll handle all of the customer data, right? Like, so what is the budget that you have kept for, so your marketing campaign, right? Or the marketing activity that you have done. Okay, so like, so the TV ads, say for example, right? So what is the budget that you have kept, right? So how many people have seen that particular ad, right? So, and how many right, so of them have converted into your, like, so after seeing that ad, right, how many people have reached out to you, right? So, and out of those right, people, right, so how many people were converted into your customers, right? So if you have to track all of this, right, so if your business is small, right, and if your budget is also small, then probably what will happen, right, you can track all of that information, right? So related to marketing, or maybe, right, so related to sales, or maybe related to customer service, what you can do is, right, you can handle all of that in, right, a book, or maybe an Excel, right? A book, or maybe an Excel sheet, or something like that. But what if you're having hundreds and thousands of customers? Okay, so then, right, handling all of that customer data, handling all the customer interactions that you are having, right, so with people, right, so it will become very, very difficult for you to handle all of them in a book or Excel. Okay, so that's when you need a system to handle all of that. Okay, so that's where CRM systems comes into picture. Okay, so what is a CRM? CRM is a tool that helps you to manage the customer life cycle. Okay, so whichever tool, okay, so whichever tool that helps you in managing the customer life cycle, right? So that thing we call it as a CRM. Okay, so all the interactions, right, starting from reaching out to your business, right, till, right? So raising their customer issues with you, right? If you're tracking all the interactions, right? So from that customer, right? So within your system, right? If any system that is helping you to do that, that system we call it as a CRM. Okay. So starting from reaching out to your business, right? So once that awareness is done, right? So they reached out to your business, right? So and then you have done some sort of sales, right? After that, once they purchase your product, right? They reached out to you with some sort of customer issues and all of that, right? So if you are able to track the whole journey of that particular individual, right? When he came to us, right? How many times we made calls to them, right? So once the sale is done, right? So how many times they came up to us, right? With their problems or something like that, right? So how many times they have upgraded their product, right? All of that, right? If you're able to track all of the journey of each and every individual customer through any sort of tool, then we call that particular tool as a CRM. Okay. There are a lot of CRMs available out there in the market, right? So, and within those CRMs, Salesforce is the number one CRM. Okay. So, and if you look at the market share, right, the recent market trends that came up, right, Salesforce is holding more than 20% of the overall CRM industry. Okay. So, right, there are more than 10,000 CRMs available, so out there in the market, right? So, right, there are more than 10,000 CRMs that are available out there in the market. So out of those 10,000 CRMs, right, the Salesforce itself is holding 20% of the market share. Okay. So that's what Salesforce is, right? So now, right. So if you ask me, right, Salesforce is not just a CRM. There are a lot of things associated to it, right? Apart from CRM, right? So what more you can do is, right, you can create your own enterprise applications on top of Salesforce platform. Okay. You can create your own enterprise applications as well. Okay. You can create your own enterprise applications as well. Okay. So like, so since, so every business will have these three core functions, as I just told you: marketing, right? So sales and customer service. And customer service. What Salesforce has done is, right? Salesforce has given these products, okay, by default, okay, within their product suite, right? If you purchase one Salesforce instance from Salesforce company, so what they'll do is, right, they will give these three products by default. Okay. One is marketing related product, and the other one is sales related product, and the other one is customer service related product, right? So these products by default you will get, right? So you can, any business can use these products to track their customer interactions, and at the same time, right, so they can build their own enterprise applications on top of this platform. Okay. So these three applications come by default, and along with that, right, your HR team can build their own HR related applications, right? So with the help of Salesforce team that is there in their company, they can build their own HR applications. Okay. Your IT team can build their own IT related applications. Okay. So the same way, right, based on the type of operations that your business is having, right? So you can build any sort of enterprise applications on top of Salesforce platform. Okay. So that's what Salesforce is all about. Okay. In simple terms, I believe it's clear so far. If you have any questions, you can ask me, guys. Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Right. How about others, guys?
No, Ishwar.
Good. So guys, I want everyone to be active. Okay. Good. So now let's see what all types of products that Salesforce is offering. Okay. So what all types of products that Salesforce is offering? Let's quickly have a look, right? So the whole Salesforce product landscape is divided into two categories. Okay. So one is, right, the products that were built on top of Salesforce platform and that are offered to the businesses. Okay. And at the same time, right, so the products that are tightly integrated with Salesforce, right, they're not built on top of Salesforce, but they're tightly integrated with Salesforce and they seamlessly work with Salesforce product. Okay, so that way, right, Salesforce have two different types of products, right? So one is, right, the products that are built on top of Salesforce platform, and the other one is external products, right? They're not built on top of Salesforce platform, but right, they work seamlessly with Salesforce, product suite, whatever products that are there in Salesforce, right? They work seamlessly with that particular product suits, and you'll not find much difference, right? So you'll not find them as different products altogether, right? You'll find it like, they're also part of Salesforce. That's how, right, the external products are tightly coupled with Salesforce, right? So these two types of products that we have from the Salesforce end. Now let's quickly, right, look at all of these products. You don't need to worry much about it, right? There are a lot of products, guys, right? So, but at a higher level, right, so you can know about, right, so marketing, sales, and customer service related products. But I'm sharing all of this knowledge for your understanding purposes. Okay. So if you know all of this, right, so at a higher level, this gives some extra advantage compared to the people that are already there, right? So that who are already learning Salesforce, right? So outside from the other institutions. Okay, so you'll have that sort of difference. Okay, if you know all of this, right? So now let's see, right? So what kind of products that we have on top of Salesforce platform, guys? I believe you can see my right, mind maps, right? Can you see a presentation here? Product landscape presentation.
Yes.
Okay, good. Right. Right. So now let's quickly see what all types of products that are there on Salesforce. I mean, like, so that were built on top of Salesforce platform and are being offered to the businesses by Salesforce. Okay. So Sales Cloud, right? There is a product named Sales Cloud. So what is this product generally do, right? So this product helps businesses, right, to sell efficiently. Okay. So what does this product do, right? So this particular product will help businesses to sell, right, so their products or services to the end customers efficiently. Okay, so that's what Sales Cloud is all about. Okay, so and then there is a product called Service Cloud, right? What does this product, right, so helps companies to do is, right, this product helps companies to provide efficient customer service. Okay, so this product helps companies to sell, right, and provide, right, efficient customer service. Okay, the same way, right, there is another product called Industries as well, right? So as I told you, right, every business will have three major core functions, right? So what are those core functions, right? So sales, marketing, and right, so what is the other thing, right? So customer service, right? So apart from sales, right, apart from customer service, and apart from, right, so marketing, right, so every company will have their own set of requirements. Okay, so even though these core functions are similar, right, so what will happen, right, every company will have their own set of requirements. Okay, so when they have their own set of requirements, so what is that, right, so needed for them, right, they needed some sort of customization of this Salesforce tool. Okay, so that kind of customization and all you can do, right, to any of the applications that are built on top of Salesforce platform. Okay, so that is the advantage, and the beauty is you can build your own applications as well, as I just told you, right? So if you are coming from a HR background, right, so if you want some sort of the business process automation for your HR team, you can build your own HR application, right? So the same way, right, so if you are from an IT team, right, if you want some of your own IT related right, so customization, right, you can build your own sort of applications. Okay, so that way what Salesforce has done, right, Salesforce has created some default products which you can use, right? So and at the same time, if you need any sort of customizations, you can build those customizations as well, right? So as I told you, right, so Sales Cloud product will help your sales teams, right? If you are having a business, it will help your sales team to so sell efficiently, right? So and at the same time, right, Service Cloud will help your businesses to service your customers efficiently. Okay, so it will help you to do the sales, right? It will help you to provide wonderful customers service. Okay, and along with this, right, so there will be a lot of other industries as well. Okay, so for that reason, what Salesforce has done is, right, Salesforce has built a lot of products that might fit your specific industry niche. Okay, so your company might be in manufacturing, right, so segment, right? So what they have done is, right, they have created one product suite that, right, manufacturing companies can use for their internal business purposes, right? As I told you, sales, service, and marketing are default for every company, but right. So manufacturing companies might need different processes altogether. Okay, apart from sales, service, and marketing, right? They might need some different. They might have some different process, and they might need some different product altogether, right? The same way, right? So companies that are there in health related segment, right? They might need some different product altogether, right? Companies that are there in telecom segment, right? They might need another product altogether, right? So what Salesforce has done is, right, along with the default products that whatever that Salesforce is offering, they came up with multiple other products as well for different sort of industries. Okay, so now let's quickly, right, see what kind of products that Salesforce is having, right? So within this industry segment. Okay, so financial services companies means, right, the companies that are there in the banking sector. Okay, so or the companies that are there in non right, banking financial corporations, right? So like, so loan providing companies, insurance companies, and all other stuff, right? So they come under NBFCs, right? So non-banking financial corporations. Okay, so for those companies, right, Salesforce have built one product suite, right, which they call it as financial services cloud. Okay, what they would call, right, they call it as financial services cloud, right? They have a separate product for that. Okay, so the same way, right, so the companies that are there in health segment, right, the companies that build pharmaceuticals, right, pharmacy companies or something like that, or maybe, right, so hospitals and all of that, right? So these companies, right, so these businesses can use healthcare and life sciences related product of Salesforce, which is also called as health cloud. Okay, so there will be a lot of manufacturing companies, right? The example that we have just discussed, bike manufacturing company. Okay, so along with sales, service, and marketing, right, they might have different set of processes altogether, right? In the whole manufacturing related workflow, right? They might have different requirements altogether. So for that reason, right, Salesforce have built something called manufacturing cloud as well, right? Manufacturing companies can use those products, right? The same way, right, automotive companies, right? Right, like bike companies, right? Like car companies and all of that, right? They can also use a separate product called automotive cloud, right? The same way, right, so educational institutions like universities, right, so the same way, like edtech companies, like, so growth school, right, scalar, right, so if you look at our company, Exile or maybe Apex Champs, right, so these kind of companies can use education cloud, right? Salesforce have built a separate product for that, right? So same way, right, companies that are there in telecom segment, right? So telecom segment means, right, like, the companies that are like, Geo, or maybe, right, British Telecom, right? So this is I mean, like a UK based company, which we also call it as British Telecom, right? There is a company called AT&T. Okay, so this is very famous in US, right? The same way we have Airtel and all of that, right? So Vodafone, right? So we have Vodafone and all of that, right? So right, so these telecom related companies, right? So those companies also can use Salesforce, right? Apart from sales, marketing, and customer service, right? So they can use communications cloud, so in order to, right, so run their business smoothly with the help of Salesforce, right? The same way, right, so the companies that are there in businesses that are there in public sector in the sense, right? So government related organizations. Okay, so government related organizations also can use Salesforce, right? So for them, right, there is something called public sector cloud, right? The same way, right, retail cloud in the sense, right, so if you are living in cities, right, there are lot of right, supermarket chains that are available. Okay, so and at the same time, right, so there are companies like, right, online grocery supplies, like, Jepto, right, Big Basket. Okay, so and right, so the companies that there are a lot of other companies in the retail segment, right? So like Flipkart, right? So not just supermarkets, right? So and you can see, right, Reliance Smart. Okay, Reliance Smart, and right, Bajaj Electronics, right? So there are lot of companies that are there in retail segments, right? So the companies that generally sell right, so regular products day in day out, right? So those companies also can use, right, so Salesforce retail cloud, retail related so product of Salesforce, right? So media and entertainment companies, like, like Netflix. Okay, so and TV9. Okay, so any right, TV channels and right, so the media streaming platforms that are available in the market, right, they can also use Salesforce, right? So for them, Salesforce have built a separate product, okay, media and entertainment related product, right? So the same way, right, hospitality related companies, right? So like hotels and all of them, right, they can also use Salesforce. Apart from sales, service and marketing, right, they'll also have their own set of process. They can use hospitality related products of Salesforce. Like this, Salesforce have built many products, okay, right? And right, so those products, right, we call them as industries related products, or right, there is a product called Velocity, right? Salesforce or Omni Studio, okay? Just remember these names. That's it, okay? You don't need to worry much about it, okay? So we don't need to learn all of these concepts, right? So as part of, right, learning CRM, right? So we'll see, right, Sales Cloud, right? So Service Cloud and marketing application, okay? So not marketing cloud, right? So marketing application, there is something called marketing application. So these three are the things that, right, so we will see as part of our Salesforce training. But as you progress in your career, based on the company that you are working for, right, you might be exposed to these different products as well, okay? So then, right, so once you start working in those companies, right, you can learn these concepts as well. But majorly, right, so not 90% of the companies, right, so everyone who is using Salesforce will use Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and marketing application, okay? So these three are the ones, right? So every company will use, right? So for that reason, right, so these are the things that will focus, right, so throughout our training. But based on, right, so right, the role that you are in, right, so based on the experience that you gain, you might expose to these products also in future, okay? But knowing, right, so what kind of products that Salesforce is having, it is very right, so good to have that sort of knowledge, okay? So these are the products, right, as I just told you, okay? So along with this Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, right, and industries, right, so related products, there are some other, right, so major products that we should be knowing as well, okay? So which are Experience Cloud, CRM Analytics, and Einstein, right? So what is this Experience Cloud, right? So whatever I've just told you, so whatever I've just shown you so far, right? So like sales, right, so service, industries, and all of that, right? Who will use these products, right? So businesses, users, I mean, like, business users within that business will use these products, okay? Who are these business users? Business users are in the sense, right, sales teams, okay, marketing teams, right? So customer service teams, right? So and operations teams, okay, customer service teams, right? So and operations teams, right? The people who are the part of the business, right? So internal people, right? So people from the business, right? They are the ones who use these products, that whatever I've just told you, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or Industry Cloud, and all of that. So they are the people, right? The business users, right, who are part of the business, they'll use these products. But for every business, right, along with internal users, right, so they will have external customers as well, right? So who are the customers? Customers can be external users, okay? So see, internal users should also have, should be having access to the data, so that, right, they can track all the customer interactions and all of the stuff, okay? So that is fine. But at the same time, right, as a customer, right, so or as a partner of your business, right, so there will be partners as well, right? There will be customers as well for any of the business, right? As a partner or a customer, right, I should also have access to my data, like, so maybe what all products your company is selling, okay? I should be able to see those products, okay? So what all products that I've purchased so far, or maybe, so I should have some sort of accessibility to buy those products, okay? As a customer, right, I should have some sort of accessibility to buy those products. Or at the same time, right, so as a customer, right, I should be able to raise customer service requests as well, okay? And I should be able to track those customer service requests also, right? So where is my right, customer service request is at, right? So is that assigned to any of the customer support representative, right? So is it in progress, or right, so what is the status on that particular so ticket, or whatever it could be? If you want to track all of that, right, so as a customer, you should also have access to, right, your data, or right, so something that is related to Salesforce. Okay. So, but you are not directly part of the business, right? You are not an internal user, internal business user. You are an external user. Okay. So when your business needs to provide access to any external users, right? To access to the data that is there within your company to external users, right? So then your company can use Experience Cloud to build those portals. Okay. So this particular Experience Cloud is also built on top of Salesforce platform, right? So whatever data that is present in Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and Industries Cloud, so all of the data you can expose to external users. Okay, not internal users. Okay, so to external users, right? Not just to internal users, to external users with the help of portals. You can create your own sites. Okay, and using those websites and using those portals, you can provide access to all of the data that is there within your Salesforce platform to the external users with the help of Experience Cloud. Okay, so that is what this particular product is. Okay, so if you go to, right, so any, say for example, right, if you are an Airtel customer, okay, so and right, so if you have to right, so make any sort of recharge or something like that, so what you'll generally do, right, you can go to Airtel website, right, and from there you can log in with your mobile number, and if you want to recharge, you can recharge, right? So and at the same time, right, if you are having any sort of issues or something like that, right, you can chat with business, right, from there itself, right? So from that Airtel store, from that Airtel website itself. Okay. And at the same time, right, you can track. Okay. So you can track your, right, customer service requests as well. Okay. From there itself. Right. So how, right, so these kind of things, right, so you can build, right? So this kind of portals, right, the website that whatever I've just told you, right? So, right, Airtel can build these sort of websites, right, using Experience Cloud. Okay. So if Airtel is using Salesforce, right, they can build all of this with the help of Salesforce, right? These kind of things comes under Experience Cloud. You can build portals and you can provide access to your internal data, right, to the external users with the help of Experience Cloud, right? So that is what this particular Experience Cloud project is all about. But this product is also built on top of Salesforce platform, right? The same way Salesforce is offering another product called CRM analytics as well, right? So now you are generating lot of data, right? So within your Salesforce, right, from all of these products, you'll generate lot of data, right? So all the customer interactions, blah blah, right? So everything you'll have within your Salesforce platform. But if you want to analyze the data, right, so just storing all of that data doesn't really right, so help you in long run if you are not analyzing all of the data, right? So you have to analyze all of the data, and once the data is analyzed, right, so you can take proper decisions, right, business decisions, right? So data driven business decisions, right? So with the help of analysis, only if you do, right, that proper analysis, right, of your data, you can take data driven business decisions, right, to take your business to the next level. Okay. For that reason, right, there is a product called CRM analytics. Using the CRM analytics, what you can do is, right, you can connect all of your Salesforce data to that CRM analytics product, and you can run different sort of, right, so reports, right? So dashboards, visualizing all of that data, right? And all of those things you can do here. Okay. So if you know, right, any tools like Power BI and all of that, right? So that kind of functionality you'll have within the CRM analytics. But right, so you can build all of that on top of Salesforce data, right? Not external data. Right. So whatever data that is there in your Salesforce, you can take all of the data into the CRM analytics tool, and you can build different sort of reports, dashboards, right? Whatever that is needed for your business to take data driven business decisions. Okay. So that is one sort of product that Salesforce is offering, right? The same way there is another product called Einstein. Okay. So this is the AI product of Salesforce, right? Artificial intelligence product of Salesforce. Okay. So using Einstein, this Einstein also runs on top of all of your Salesforce products. Okay. So with this Einstein, right, you can create recommendations. Okay. Recommendations in the sense, right, so if you have any, right, of the customer, right, based on the past purchasing behavior of the customer, right? So your Einstein product will automatically forecast, right, what product he might buy. And that it will suggest your sales team to sell that particular product to that particular customer, right? The same way based on right, the previous conversations, right, right, the customer is had with our customer service team, right? So this AI will give us proper right, so data that you proper, right, so conversational data, right, so that you can use to send to your customer, so that customers will be, right, more happy or something like that, right? So these kind of, right, AI related stuff, right, so you can do on top of Salesforce with the help of Einstein product that Salesforce is offering. But this product also works on top of all the products that what Salesforce is offering. Okay, so at the same time, right, along with these products, right, on top of Salesforce platform, you can build your own products as well, as I told you, right, HR product, right, or maybe, right, IT related product, or maybe some other related product. You can build all of those products, right? So you can bring these products data also into Experience Cloud, CRM Analytics, and Einstein, right, to do proper reporting and dashboarding, right, to provide access to your external users, access to the data to your external users, or maybe to get proper recommendations directly from the AI engine. Okay, so artificial intelligence engine, right? You can do all of those things, right, so with the help of these products. Okay, so as you can clearly see, products that run on top of all the Salesforce platform products. Okay, so these are the three major products that we have, right, along with Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and Industries Cloud, right? These are the products that Salesforce is offering. Okay, so this is one category of products, right? So all these products are top of, or are built on top of what? Are built on top of Salesforce platform. As I just told you, we have two categories of platforms, right? The products that are within the Salesforce, built within the Salesforce platform, and the products that are connected to your Salesforce platform and work seamlessly for your business. Okay, so those kind of products also Salesforce is having. They're not built on top of Salesforce platform. Okay, but right, what Salesforce has done is, right, Salesforce have acquired lot of products, right, lot of companies, right? So, and what it has done is, right, so it bring those product suite into the Salesforce existing product suite, right? It merged all of those products into existing Salesforce product suite. Okay, so what Salesforce has done is, right, way back in 2015 or 16, I don't really remember, right, the exact, right, year and all of that. So they brought one company named Exact Target. Okay, Exact Target, and right, so they have renamed, right, that particular product, Exact Target product, as a Marketing Cloud product. Okay, so they got two products, right, so from Exact Target, which is Marketing Cloud and Marketing Cloud Account Engagement, which is also known as Pardot, right? What you can generally do with the help of these products. Okay, see, you can send, right, emails to your customers. Okay, so, and you can, right, so run different digital ad campaigns. Okay, so digital ad campaigns from these
Ishwar, one
products.
doubt.
So, yes, please go ahead.
Um, uh, why we call Marketing Cloud or Sales Cloud? Is it some kind of a cloud platform or something which we store the data or anything else?
Yeah, see, to use Salesforce, you don't need any sort of infrastructure. Okay, so you
Okay.
just need a simple account. You can go to, right, salesforce.com, and you can, right, so buy some licenses from them. You can subscribe for, right, so any of their products, and you can just simply go and log in into the Salesforce platform, and you can use it. Voila, that's it. Okay, so what is this? This is all, right, cloud computing. Okay, so if you have to, right, build everything in your own, at your own premises, on your own infrastructure, then we call it as on premise, right, so software solutions, or whatever it could be. But, right, Salesforce offers cloud based solutions. Okay, so you don't need to install any software or something like that. All you need is internet connection and a browser to access their products. Okay, so
Okay.
since all of these are built on top of cloud, right? So what Salesforce has done is, Salesforce have named their products as Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and all of that. That's it. Okay,
Okay. And
is it clear?
what about the, yes, and what about the data, where it will be stored? And because it will be a very huge data, right? It will be a big data
Yeah,
because
so
it involves a lot of customers and everything.
yeah, right. So all of the data stores in cloud itself. Okay, so
Okay.
Salesforce have their own data centers right? So it gets stored in all, it gets stored in those data centers, and all you need is, right, all you need is, right, just browser and internet connection. Okay, so you can access all of it. You don't need to worry much about, right, how the data is being stored, where it is being stored, right, how Salesforce is handling all of that data. You don't need to worry much about it. Okay, all you need is just the application and use it. That's it. Whatever amount of data that you want to store, you can store based on the licenses that you are purchasing. You can store that much amount of data, right, within your Salesforce application. Clear?
Yeah, clear. Thank you.
Good. Right. So now, right. So let's get back to our marketing cloud, right? So as I told you, right, you have to, as a business, you might need to create a lot of awareness, right, in the market. You can create those awareness with the help of, right, email marketing, right, digital ads, right, at the same time, right, you might have to send messages to your customers through WhatsApp, right? So, or maybe, right, so through different digital channels, right, like Facebook Messenger, okay? So, or maybe, right, so uh, right, there are a lot of other applications like Line app. Okay, so if you're not from India and if you're from US or UK, right, you might know this particular app as well, right? So this way, right, so, and Telegram is there, right? So this way, right, so if you want to integrate, right, so your Salesforce and with so any sort of marketing related product, right, so you can use this marketing cloud and right, so send, right, different communications to your customers, multi-channel communications to your customers through this particular product, right? So for all of these things, right, you can use marketing cloud. Okay. Excuse me, guys. Okay, right. So this product don't run on top of Salesforce platform. Okay, so this is something you have to know that. Okay, this is a separate product, but this this is tightly integrated with Salesforce, right? Whatever data that is Salesforce, that is there in Salesforce, you can bring all of the data into your marketing cloud, and you can, right, use this product to run those different sort of marketing campaigns, right? Like just whatever so I've shown you, right? So that particular things you can do. Okay, so but how these products are connected to Salesforce, right? These products are connected to the Salesforce platform directly. Okay, Salesforce platform, right, through connectors. Okay, Salesforce have built lot of connectors. Okay, Salesforce have built lot of connectors for this product, right? Different connectors. Using those connectors, you can connect these products directly with the Salesforce platform so that data flows between both the systems. And even though these products are different products, right, they are part of Salesforce product suite only. Salesforce sells these products also, okay, to the end businesses, right? So, right, so and see, when we have marketing cloud, then what is this marketing cloud account engagement? Okay, so this product is purely email marketing tool. Okay, purely email marketing tool, and this is used by B2B businesses. Okay, whereas marketing cloud is something that is used by B2C businesses. B2C means, right, business to customers, right? The companies that are directly selling to the end consumers like you and me, right, are called as B2C companies, business to customer companies, right? If you are a business to customer company, right, then you can use marketing cloud to, right, so market to your customers. Okay, customers or prospective customers, right, whoever it could be, right? Whereas, right, if your business is selling your products to businesses, not to the customers, right? And if you take Salesforce is not a B2C company, it is B2B company. So what generally Salesforce does, Salesforce sells its Salesforce product to businesses. Okay, so that kind of companies, we call it as B2B companies, the companies that are selling their products to the businesses. Okay, we call them as B2B companies. Okay, so if you are a B2B company, you don't need all these channels like, SMS, right, WhatsApp, right? So and all other things you don't need generally. Okay, so all you need is email marketing, right? So see, if you are I'm like, so if your customer is end consumer, you can identify him with his mobile number, with his right, so email address, right, with his Facebook ID, blah blah blah, and all of that, right? But whereas in B2B, right, you are not selling to an individual, you are selling to a business. When you are selling to a business, the only contact that you'll have mostly is email address. So for that reason, right, if you're a B2B company and if you want to, right, perform any sort of marketing activities, right, so you can use marketing cloud account engagement, right, which is also known as PADOT, right? So to run your marketing campaigns effectively, email marketing campaigns effectively. Okay, so that's what this marketing cloud account engagement is all about. Okay, the same way there is a product called Tableau, right? Salesforce acquired Tableau as well, right? Earlier Tableau is a separate company, right? And a separate product that is offered to different companies, wherein, right, you can bring in different applications together, data from different applications together, and you can report on all of that data, and you can visualize all of that data, and you can take data driven decisions, business decisions, right? So Tableau offers the same thing, right? So not just Salesforce data, guys. Okay, so if you look at CRM analytics, the product that we have seen earlier on top of Salesforce platform, right? So that is CRM analytics, right? CRM analytics is a product wherein you can bring only Salesforce related data. Okay, and you can create reports and, right, visualizations and all of that. Okay, reporting and visualization and all of that, right, in CRM analytics. But whereas in Tableau, what you can do is you can bring external data as well. Okay, not just Salesforce data. Okay, you can bring external data also into Salesforce, right? Into this product, and you can create all of those reports, right? Dashboards, right? And right, take data driven business decisions. Okay, so there are a lot of products available out there in the market which are similar to Tableau, which are like, Power BI is one of that particular product, right? So you can just Microsoft Power BI, right? This product is offered by Microsoft. Okay, so this way there are a lot of other products as well. Okay, so but Tableau is one of the most famous and most right, uh, popularly used product by the companies in order to create those reporting and dashboarding related stuff. Okay, so this product is also connected to Salesforce. Okay, the same way, right? So if you take any business, right, at the end of the day, they'll not just use one single application like Salesforce, right? So they'll use hell lot of other applications as well, right? They might use Outlook to to streamline their emails and all other stuff, right? They might use some other application, right? So application X, right? They might use some other application like, application Y or something like that, right? So when you have multiple applications, right? So you might have a need for your applications to communicate with one another, right? So whatever data that is there in Salesforce, you might need that data available in application X as well. Okay, so whatever data that is there in application X, you might need that data to be available in Salesforce as well. Okay, so then how we can, right, make that happen, right? You can make that happen through integrations. Okay, you can integrate all of these applications, right? So multiple applications, app 1, app 2, right? App 3, app 4, and all of those things, right? So, and what you can do, right, through that integration, seamless integration, you can have that connected experience. Even though your company is having multiple applications, when you have data from one application to the other application, it will make the life of the, right, business users very easy, right? So for that reason, right, so what companies can do is, right, companies can use MuleSoft product. Using MuleSoft product, what they can do, right, they can connect, right, one application to the other application, and they can make sure that, the data is flowing seamlessly. Okay, so this particular product is also, right, tightly connected with Salesforce, right? If you want any other applications to be connected to Salesforce, you can use MuleSoft to connect, right, so that their applications, and you can have that seamless data flowing between the systems, right, with the help of lot of point and click functionalities. Okay, so you can use coding as well to do that, right, within MuleSoft, but mostly, right, you can configure all of those things with the help of point and click, right? Point and click with the help of MuleSoft, right? This is also another company, right, that Salesforce have acquired, right? So this is also way back, right, not recently, right? The same way Salesforce also have another product called Slack, right? So if you are a working professional, you might be using Teams in your company, or you might be using Slack also in your company, right? So what is this Slack or Teams is all about is, so it enables your businesses to have collaboration between the teams. Okay, so if you look at WhatsApp, right, what WhatsApp generally does, right, it will enable the collaboration between families and friends and all other stuff, right? So like you and me and all other people, right? So that is regular app, right, that anyone use, right? But if you go to businesses, right, businesses can use Slack. Okay, so to have that collaboration between those teams, and not just simple collaboration. Okay, so you can bring data from Salesforce into Slack, and, right, your sales teams collaborate on that data. Okay, your customer support teams can collaborate on that data. Okay, customer support teams can collaborate on that data within Slack itself. Okay. So for your simple understanding, consider WhatsApp, right? If you're able to, right, have a communication on a specific topic, right? So between multiple users within WhatsApp, right? So right, so it'll be like, right, it'll be smooth experience, right? So if you create any group in WhatsApp, and if you right, bring, if you add any file to it, and if people are having conversations on that particular file, right, what will happen, right? So you'll have connected experience, right? So connected collaboration, right? The same thing happens here as well, right? So even though Slack is a business communication app, right, wherein teams can have regular conversations, they can bring Salesforce data also into the Slack, and they can collaborate on that particular data on a particular, right, lead or something like that. What is a lead? Lead is a prospective customer, right? If there is any prospective customer that we have, we can store that prospective customer's information into the leads module in Salesforce. Okay. So we'll see all of that. You don't need to worry much about it. You can bring that lead and you can have that conversation. Hey, look at this particular customer, right? So he might be interested in purchasing this product. Could you please help me? How can I sell this product, right? And you can ask your team lead as a sales guy, right? So last time I see that, right, you have sold another product to this customer, right? Can you please tell me, right, with whom I can talk, right, from this particular customer company, right? So that, right, so it will be easy for me to close that particular deal or something like that. So that kind of conversation you can have within Slack. Okay. So that's what Slack is all about, right? So this is also an external application. Salesforce has brought Slack for almost like $29 billion, right? So in 2019 or something like that, I don't really remember the year, right? But this is one of the biggest acquisitions that Salesforce had done, right? So far in recent times, right? The same way, there is a product called Commerce Cloud. Okay. So companies like Flipkart, right? So, and any other e-commerce companies, right? So what they can do is, right, they can use like Amazon or whatever it could be, right? They can use Commerce Cloud to build different e-commerce platforms and sell their products to their end customers, right? So this is also a product named Demandware. Earlier, there is a product or tool named Demandware, right? Salesforce has purchased this particular product, and they have integrated this product with their Salesforce platform, so that, right, so Salesforce customers also can use Commerce Cloud to set up e-commerce sites, right? So this way, Salesforce have two categories of products, which is, right, the products that are built on top of Salesforce, and the other one is the products that work seamlessly with Salesforce platform, right? These are the external apps that are tightly connected with Salesforce, but these are also Salesforce products. Okay. So Salesforce company will sell these products as well, but these are separate products that are tightly integrated with Salesforce. Okay. So this is what Salesforce product landscape is. If you know all of this, you'll get some basic idea, right? So what Salesforce is, what generally Salesforce does, how it works, right? How all of its products are there in the market, blah, 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 and all of this. Okay. So with this, I believe you are clear about the Salesforce product landscape. Okay. So you don't need to worry much about it, guys, right? So the more you are involved into, right, all the topics that are there in Salesforce, you'll get more understanding towards it. But all of this is theory. Knowing this will help you to understand what is what in Salesforce. Okay. So that is the reason why I've explained all of this. Okay. So with this, I believe, right, everyone is clear so far. Is it clear, guys, so far? Or do you have any questions? Yes, please speak out.
It's
Clear.
clear.
Rohit
Yeah.
said clear.
Yeah, thank you.
Joel said clear. Right. Any other people we have? Okay, right.
Clear, sir.
Guys, please speak out. Speak out. Don't just simply sit idle. Right. I don't know whether you are hearing or sleeping. Right. So please be active. Good. Abhinay, is it clear, buddy?
Clear, sir,
Mahesh?
clear.
Mahesh, it is clear? మహేష్ నిన్న కూడా మీరు మాట్లాడలేదు, ఇవాళ కూడా మాట్లాడారు. This is not a good sign. Okay. Please be active, or else, right, if you are talking, you are on mute. Oh, good. Seems like you're on mute. Okay. Okay, guys. Guys, can you give me 1 minute? Okay, I'll just go and drink some water and come. Is that okay? 30 seconds. Okay. I'll just go and drink some water.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Right. So now we know what is Salesforce, right? So what kind of products that Salesforce is offering and all of that. Okay. But along with this, we should be knowing what type of companies that are there in the Salesforce ecosystem. Okay. So if you look at, right, so any right, people from Salesforce background, right, so talking about Salesforce related stuff, you always hear a word named Salesforce ecosystem. Ecosystem. What is this ecosystem? Okay. So Salesforce ecosystem majorly consists of four different group of companies. Okay. Four different group of companies. So one is Salesforce end customers. Okay. So who are the Salesforce end customers? Right. So these people are, right, the ones that use Salesforce day in, day out. Okay. So who are these? Right. So these companies are the ones who use Salesforce, right? Who use Salesforce day in, day out. Okay. Day in, day out, right? To handle their business operations. Okay. So who are they indirectly? They are nothing but, right, Salesforce customers. Okay. They are the Salesforce end users or the end customers, right? So there are almost like close to 200,000 companies. Okay. 200,000 companies, which means, right, 2 lakh companies that are using Salesforce. Okay. So when 2 lakh companies are using Salesforce, right, it is not just like, they can, right, use it on their own, right? Isn't it so? Right. So they need someone to configure that particular Salesforce to suit their business needs, right? And at the same time, right, so they might need someone within their company who can help their business users with day-to-day Salesforce related operations like creation of users, right? So or maybe right, so creation of reports and dashboards, right? So and many other things, right? Uploading data into Salesforce, right? So and many other things, right? So that means, right, so these end customers, right, whoever is using Salesforce will have their own Salesforce teams. Okay. Will have their own Salesforce teams who can build or configure Salesforce for them. Or, right, at the same time, what they can do, right, so sometimes if the company is big and if the number of licenses that they bought for their company is very, very huge, right, then what will happen, right, their internal teams are not just enough to handle everything for them. Okay. So that's when these companies will go to Salesforce consulting partners. Okay. So but before, right, looking at Salesforce consulting partners, now let's just simply look at what type of companies that are there in, so what kind of companies that are, so they're under Salesforce, I mean, like, that are under Salesforce end customers, right? Uber is one of the end customer. Uber also uses Salesforce, right? Apple is one of the end customer. Apple also uses Salesforce. Google is one of the end customer. Google also uses Salesforce, right? Facebook is one of the Salesforce end customer. Facebook also uses Salesforce. Dr. Reddy's is one of the Salesforce end customer. They are also using Salesforce. Like this, there are 200,000 companies that are using Salesforce, right? Every company needs someone to configure Salesforce for them, configure and customize Salesforce for them. And at the same time, right, so if the company is big, right, and if the number of licenses that they're using and right, the practice that sales they're having for Salesforce is big, then they might need some external help as well. Okay. So that's when consulting partners comes into picture, right? Who are these consulting partners? These are the people, right, who help end customers to use Salesforce efficiently. Okay. So to use Salesforce efficiently, so these people will help them. Okay. So efficiently means, right, if they want any sort of, if they have any project and if they need that project to be implemented. Okay. So consulting partners will come and, right, they'll implement that particular project for them. Right. Apart from internal Salesforce team, right. So if the project is big, right, these consulting partners will come and they'll help those companies to implement those kind of projects and all of that. Okay. So that's what this Salesforce consulting partners is all about. Here also you'll have Salesforce professionals. Okay. So at Salesforce end customers also you'll have Salesforce professionals. At Salesforce consulting partners also you'll have Salesforce professionals. Why? Because these are the ones, right, who will help these end customers to build those projects, right? So that means these companies will also have Salesforce professionals, right? So which companies, which type of companies falls under these consulting partners, right? So there are few names that we know, like, Accenture is one of the Salesforce consulting partner. IBM is one of the Salesforce consulting partner. TCS is one of the Salesforce consulting partner, right? The same way, right? Infosys, Wipro, right? All these companies that we see, Capgemini, right? So, and many other companies, right? Cognizant, right? So all of these companies are Salesforce consulting partners. Okay. So these companies, what they'll do, right? They implement projects for Salesforce and customers. Okay. So that's what Salesforce consulting partners is all about. Okay. And the third one is Salesforce ISV partners, right? Who are the Salesforce ISV partners, which is also called as independent Salesforce vendors. Okay. ISV means independent Salesforce vendor, right? So we have Salesforce ISV partners as well. Excuse me, please. So who are the Salesforce ISV partners? Okay. So Salesforce cannot build every product on its own, right? So since we have 200,000 companies, right, that are using, close to 200,000 companies that are using Salesforce, every company will have their own set of requirements, right? So Salesforce came up with different sort of ideas, which they might feel like, so these category of companies might need this set of product, and they've built those products by default, like manufacturing cloud, right? Like communications cloud, right? The same way health cloud and all of that. But apart from that, right, there might be a lot of other type of products also that companies needs, right? So that's when what will happen is that, right, these independent software vendors, right, comes into picture, right? Who are they, right? These people are the ones who have built lot of Salesforce products. Okay. Lot of Salesforce products for different industry niches. Okay. And these products are here. Guys, can you hear me? Sorry. There is a power loss at my end. I'm back. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You can, right? Okay. Okay, let me quickly reshare my screen. Okay, so let me repeat it for you once again. Okay, sorry. Okay, so, right. So, see, since we have, right, more than 200,000 customers, right? So every company will have their own set of requirements. Okay. Salesforce cannot build, right, products that can be, suited for each and every industry on its own. Okay. So that's when what Salesforce has done is Salesforce has given an opportunity to external companies to come up with their own set of products. Okay. Companies, right? Any company can build their own product and they can sell those products on top of Salesforce platform to these 200,000 customers. Okay. So that's when, right? So these ISV partners comes into picture, right? What these ISV partners will do, right? These ISV partners have built lot of products, right? And these products, right? So any company out of these 200,000 companies, right? Any company can purchase them, right? If they feel like, so any of this product can solve their business requirement. Okay. So instead of building that product on their own, right, any of the end customer, right, instead of building that product on their own, or maybe taking help of consulting partner to build that product, right? So if they can right, directly deploy that product from ISV partner, right? If that reduces their cost and if that reduces their headache and all of that, what they can do, they can directly purchase these products from ISV partners and they can directly install them into their Salesforce platform. Like, so if you look at our right, so mobile, right? So what you can generally do, right? You can go to App Store, right? So and you can Play Store or App Store, and you can deploy any of the app into your mobile, right? The same way, right? So what you can do is, right, Salesforce has built, right? Salesforce has built something called, right? So App Exchange. Okay, Salesforce has built something called App Exchange. Okay, so right, so within any customer company, right, any end customer can go to this App Exchange and they can install any sort of apps that are published by these ISV partners into their respective Salesforce orgs, and they can use that product directly within their Salesforce environment. Okay, so these products, these Salesforce ISV partners builds. Okay, so for this purpose, right, these companies also need Salesforce professionals. Okay, these companies also need Salesforce professionals to build those products. Okay, so the same way, right, so after, right, so we have end customers, right, we have consulting partners, and we have ISV partners. The same way, we have the mothership, which is Salesforce itself. Okay, so right, so there are almost like 70,000 employees, more than 70,000 employees that are there with Salesforce, right, as of today. Okay, so and what these people generally do, right, so these people also build Salesforce products like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, right, the ones that we have just seen, right, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, and Industry Cloud, and all other stuff, right? So these people, what they generally do, right, so these people build these products on top of Salesforce platform, and these people also will sell their products to the Salesforce and customers. Okay, and along with this, right, within Salesforce there are different teams as well, not just right, so teams that build products, right, there are teams, right, so that support the customers, right? So customer support teams also are also there. These people also should know Salesforce. Why? Because at the end of the day, if any of the customer is having any issue, right, so they will reach out to the customer support, and this customer support teams also should know Salesforce so that they can support the end customers, right? This way we have four different type of companies that forms our Salesforce ecosystem. Okay, so everywhere you'll find Salesforce professionals. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so at the end, right, so once you are done with this training, right, so if you are applying for any of the jobs, right, the first thing that you need to know is, right, so whether it is an end customer or a consulting partner or a ISV partner or the Salesforce itself directly you're joining, right, that is very, very much important. Okay, so is it clear, guys, what this Salesforce ecosystem is all about?
Yes.
Guys, is it clear?
Yes.
Am I audible? Hmm?
Yes.
Good, right? Good. So this is also something we should know, right? So now we know what, right, so what is Salesforce, what type of Salesforce products, right, that we have, and what all companies that come together to to comprise this Salesforce ecosystem, right? So, and there is one more thing that we should know, which is Salesforce careers. Okay, so what kind of Salesforce careers that we have, and right, so how so you can grow under right, so any particular career ladder. Okay, so that is also something we should be knowing, right? So as an entry level professional, right, if you want to enter the Salesforce ecosystem, there are two roles that you can choose, which is Salesforce administrator and Salesforce developer. Okay, so now, right, so first let's see what Salesforce administrators generally do. Okay, so see, we have seen, right, so Salesforce and customers use Salesforce for their day in, day out, so business related operations, right? So we know that. But right, so if your company is using, if your company is using 1,000 licenses, right, say for example, 1,000 users are using Salesforce in your company. Okay, so then definitely there should be someone who should be supporting those 1,000 users, right? 1,000 users in the sense, right? So if new employee is adding to a particular team, right, they might need Salesforce access, right? So what is that, right? So that is needed at that point in time, right? So there should be someone who can create those users and providing those users necessary accesses, right? And at the same time, right? So whoever is joining newly into a specific team, and if they have to use Salesforce, right, so they might not come from right, a company where where they have already used Salesforce. So for that reason, they might not know what Salesforce is, how their business is using Salesforce, and all of that, right? So at that point in time, right, so you might need someone, right, who can train your business users on how to use Salesforce and all of that, right? So who will do all of that? Salesforce administrators will do, right? So providing accesses and creation of users and training the end business users on how to use Salesforce and creation of reports and dashboards for the business, right? And at the same time, right, importing data and exporting data from Salesforce, from external systems and all of that. So that kind of thing also Salesforce administrators will do, right? So, and using point and click tools, right? Not with the code, right? Using point and click functionality. If businesses come up with any sort of requirement, if they can implement that functionality by themselves, right? So Salesforce administrators can implement that as well. Okay. So where Salesforce administrators will work, Salesforce administrators mostly work directly with Salesforce and customers. Okay. So what do they do? Right. So they help business to streamline their Salesforce related operations, day in, day out Salesforce related operations. Okay. So now there is one more role, entry level role that we can consider, which is Salesforce developer, right? So what does this Salesforce developers do? Okay. So Salesforce administrators will directly interact with the business, right? So directly we interact with the business users, right? Whoever is using Salesforce, right? If they have any problem, who they will reach out, right? So they will directly reach out to Salesforce administrators. Okay. So now, right, so any sort of support related functionality, support related function, who is doing, right? Salesforce administrators generally do, right? So now business might say, like, say, see boss, I have this requirement, can you, right, so implement that requirement within our Salesforce, right? So then administrators can't do that. Why? Because so you need customization of the platform, right? Whenever you need customization of the platform, right, so you need some sort of coding, or right, some sort of point and click related functionality to configure that particular right, so platform to suit your business needs, right? That's when Salesforce developers comes into picture. What does the Salesforce developers do? Right, they customize the Salesforce product for the end customers, right? So whoever is using Salesforce, based on the requirements of the business, they customize the right, Salesforce to suit the needs of the business with the help of coding and other point and click tools that are available within our Salesforce. Okay. So that's what Salesforce developers generally does. Okay. So, but Salesforce developers don't directly interact with the business. Okay. Administrators directly interact with the business based on, right, the issues that are, so getting from the business end and all of that. But Salesforce developers don't directly interact with the business. Then who will interact with the business to collect the requirements of the business and all other stuff, right? So business analysts will do that. Who will do it? Business analyst will do it, right? So business analyst is not an entry level position, right? So you should be having some sort of experience with both the platform and in understanding the business requirements as well. You should be having experience in that. Excuse me, guys. Okay. So what does this business analyst do? Okay. So business analyst collect requirements from the business. Okay. They collect requirements and they convert that requirements into technical specifications. Okay. Technical specifications. What are these technical specifications? So you, right, once those requirements are converted into technical specifications, who will work on that? Salesforce developers will work on that to fulfill that requirement. Okay. So that's what business analysts do, right? These business analysts will work as a medium between the business users, right? Between end business users, okay, and business users and the Salesforce team, okay, and the Salesforce team, which is Salesforce administrators and developers and consultants and architects, okay. So they'll act like a liaison or the bridge between all the teams, and they will, right, so help in collecting the requirements and converting that requirements into technical specifications, so that, right, so Salesforce developers can implement that functionality for them. Okay, so this is one career path that you can choose, right? So after joining as an administrator or something like that, if you want to transition into a next level or something like that, right, so you can consider business analyst as a right, so next move in your career. Okay, so that is one thing. And the next, we have Salesforce consultants. So who are they? Right, so these are the people who knows business, and Salesforce platform also very well. Okay, who knows business and Salesforce platform also very well. These people don't need to know the coding and all other stuff, okay? But they should be understanding what the business, is doing, and at the same time how that business can use the Salesforce to get maximum out of the investment that they're doing into the Salesforce product. Okay, so maximum return on investment from Salesforce, right? How they can get, right? So who will suggest, right? So Salesforce consultants are the ones who will help the companies to get that fulfilled. Okay, right? So now what I'm like, so how day, so day in, day out will look like for a Salesforce consultant, right? So generally what Salesforce consultants will do, right? So Salesforce, when business analyst comes with requirements and all other stuff, right? So what Salesforce consultants will first do is they'll create some sort of basic demos. Okay, so they'll give some sort of basic demos and all of the other stuff. When business says, right, we have this requirement, right, how can we fulfill that with the help of Salesforce and all of that, then these Salesforce consultants will come and give some demos, right? So create some POCs means proof of concept, right? This is how it might look like and all other stuff. And so once business is convinced with that particular demo and all of that, that's when, right, business analysts will go and collect all the requirements in more detail. Okay, business requirements in more detail. Okay, but Salesforce consultants are the ones who will suggest what products business can use, right, to get maximum out of Salesforce, and how they can use those products, those demos and all other things the Salesforce consultants will do. And sometimes these people also go and configure things within Salesforce. Okay, like so what administrators generally does, right, those kind of things these consultants also sometimes will do. Okay, so that's what Salesforce consultants is all about, right? So you can choose, so both Salesforce developers and admins so can opt for this consultant roles down the line, right? So once you start your career as a developer or an administrator, right, after working, right, couple of years, you can consider opting for consultant roles as well. Okay, so this is what Salesforce consultant generally does. Okay, and then, right, the last one is Salesforce architects. Okay, so what does the Salesforce architects generally does, right? So these are the people who knows in and out of Salesforce. Okay, so what are the best practices that you need to follow in order to scale your Salesforce product? Okay, so right, so you might be using your Salesforce to handle right, 100 users today. Okay, so right, so based on that, your developers and administrators have customized your Salesforce org. Okay, say for example, tomorrow your 10,000 users might use your Salesforce, right? So then the same functionality should be, right, should be available for these 10,000 users as well without any performance disruption. Okay, so then how can right, you can customize your Salesforce to take it to that level, right? That's when, right, Salesforce architects comes into picture, right? So what they'll do is, right, whenever, right, this business analyst comes with, right, after collecting all the requirements and everything, so what does these architects will do is these architects will design the whole project, right? What kind of data model that we should have, data models in the sense, right, so what kind of tables that are needed, right? So how all of the tables should be connected with one another, right? In Salesforce terminology, we call them as objects. You don't need to worry much about it, right? What are these objects, what are these tables and all other stuff. Okay, so we will get to know all of that in our upcoming sessions. Okay, so these are the ones who create data model, right? These are the ones who tell, who document everything, like how to implement and all other stuff, right? What are the best practices that you need to follow, right, while implementing that and all of that, right? Those flows, right? So those flow diagrams, right? Everything that who will do, right? Salesforce architects will do, and based on whatever the design and whatever flow that these people architects create, right, so the Salesforce developers will implement it, right? So after implementing it, right, so the Salesforce architects will go and monitor it as well, right? How they are implementing it, right? So to what extent they have implemented, so if there are any changes that are needed, right, these people will go and tell them, so that, right, so developers can customize the platform with the best practices to make sure that, so that the whatever they are building can be scalable from 100 users to 10,000 users. Okay, so that's what architects generally does. Okay, so there are two types of architects: solution architects and technical architects. You don't need to worry much about it, but generally, right, this is what architects generally does, right? So after working for, right, so couple of years, like 5 years or 6 years, right, if when you are very much versed with what is there in Salesforce, how things work within Salesforce, and if you know in and out, then you can try for architect roles. Okay, so that's how, right? So that I'm like, so the all the roles that are there in the Salesforce ecosystem works. Okay, so but entry level roles are like, Salesforce administrator and developers, right? And after that, you can opt for business analyst, right? Consultants, and right down the line, you can opt for architects as well. Okay, so this is what, right, all about Salesforce careers that are available within the Salesforce ecosystem, within all these companies that whatever we have just seen, right? And the customers, right? So and right, what is it, right? Consulting partners, ISV partners, and Salesforce. These are the types of roles that are available for us. I believe with this, right, you are clear about what kind of roles and what, right, kind of companies that are there in the Salesforce ecosystem, and at the same time, right, what is Salesforce and what kind of product Salesforce is offering. Now what I would recommend is, right, so once we are done with the class, whatever hands-on that was given for you, please make sure that you are completing all of those hands-on as well, right? So for these topics, I don't really think, right, we'll have much hands-on, but there is one thing that we should be knowing, which is trailhead. Okay, so there is something called Salesforce trailhead. So I'll show you that, right? So just give me a second time. Is it clear, guys, so far? Guys,
Yes.
are you clear? Or do you
Yes,
have
clear.
any questions? Abhinay, Adarsh,
No, all clear.
Mahesh, right? So all clear, right? Great, great, guys. Okay, so now, yeah, someone is asking a question. No, okay, right, good. So now let's directly jump into the trailhead part. Okay, so I know there are, we are discussing a lot of theory and lot of concepts today, but the first initial classes will be like this. Okay, so please try to be with me, and you'll definitely be able to understand, right? So what I would recommend is, once you are done with the class, right, so while going through all of this recording once again, just please make sure that you are writing notes in whichever way you are able to understand it, so that, right, when you want to refer back, it will be easy for you to refer what all concepts that were discussed on day one. Otherwise, what will happen, right? So after day 30 or day 40, and if you have to go back and right, see what was discussed in day one, right, you cannot watch all the 2 hours of video, and you cannot write everything once again. Okay, so for that reason, what I would recommend is, so try to maintain a notes. Okay, try to maintain a notes, and right, make sure that you are writing, right, so all the topics in whichever way you are able to understand. Okay, so that it will be easy for you to reference it whenever needed. Okay, right, so what is trailhead, right? So right, so first what you have to do is, right, so you can directly search trailhead in the Google. Okay, or trailhead.salesforce.com, whichever, so way you want to access it, you can access it, right? Trailhead.salesforce.com, or else directly search for trailhead in Google. Okay, directly search for trailhead in Google, right? The first result that you get, right, if you click on that, it will directly take you to the trailhead, Salesforce trailhead, right? What is this trailhead? So trailhead is a free learning platform of Salesforce. So what is trailhead? Trailhead is a free learning platform of Salesforce, right? So now you might have a question in your mind, right? So when I can learn everything for free from trailhead, so why should I enroll into a training program? Okay, so let me tell you, right? So if you are a student and if you are in a college, you'll definitely have a library, right? So since you have access to library, if you feel like, I don't need to go to college in order to right, learn specific subject or something like that, right, do you really agree with that statement? No, right? So here also it's the same way. Okay, so trailhead is is like a library. Okay, library of resources that Salesforce is providing for us, where you can go and learn any topic related to Salesforce. But the problem is, right, you should know which book to pick up. Okay, if you are in a library, if you are learning something, right, you should know which book to pick up and which chapter you have to, right, learn within that particular book, and which order you have to follow. Okay, while learning a particular concept, so that you can absorb that concept very well, right? So for that reason, right, you need someone who can guide you. That is the reason why you need a proper professional training, and that's how you can make use of this trailhead platform also in a most efficient way. Okay, right. So now once you go to trailhead, so what you have to do is, right, you have to create your account, right? So while creating an account, what you have to do is, right, either you can click on sign up, or you can click on get started for free, right? So if you're doing it for the first time, right, it might ask you to provide some information like, company name and your role and all of that. So for that, what I would recommend you to do is, right, give Apex Charms as the name of the company. Okay, so what is it? Apex Charms as the name of the company. And right, so role, whenever, right, so you were asked to give a role or something like that, so give, right, so Salesforce developer as a role. Okay, what is it? Salesforce developer as a role, and Apex Charms as the company name, right? So once you are done with it, right, so you can create your account, right? There are multiple ways you can create your account. Directly, you can create your account with the help of your Gmail, or if you're already having a Salesforce account, right, you can create your account with the help of Salesforce as well. Okay, so now what I'll do is, right, I'll directly go with Google, right? So I'll log in with my Gmail account. If you're doing it for the first time, you might get a different interface, right, wherein you might have to, right, fill up some more information like company name and role. What is your role? Okay, so give Apex Charms as the name of the company and Salesforce developer as a role. Okay, so now I've logged in into the Trailhead. Okay, so if you have to learn anything within Trailhead, right, we have to go to learn section. Okay, if you go to learn section, you will find something called trails. Okay, if you go to trails, right, you can see all the textbooks that are there in Salesforce. Okay, for your simple understanding, I'm telling you. Okay, textbooks in the sense, right, different topics that you can learn within Salesforce. Right, there are 330 different trials that are available in Salesforce, right? If you ask me, there are more than that, but here we can clearly see there are 330 results. Okay, so there is something called admin beginner, there is something called study for the admin certification exam, explore data cloud, admin intermediate, blah blah blah, and all of that. So these are all like textbooks. Okay, so now if you go to any trial, okay, so what you'll find is you'll find modules. Okay, so what are the modules? Right, so modules are like chapters in a textbook. Okay, so if you go to any if you open any of the right, so textbook, what you'll find, right, you'll find different chapters, right? So these are modules are like chapters. Okay, so if you look at this particular trial, right, so admin beginner trial, so within this trial, right, so we have multiple modules like Salesforce platform basics is one of the module, right? So data modeling is one of the module, data management is one of the module, right? So that way, right, we have lot of modules. Okay, so and within these modules we'll have something called units. Okay, so in a textbook within a chapter, right, you might have different subsections, right? The same way here we'll have different units within a module. Okay, so if you click on any of the unit, right, you will see what all concepts that are there in that particular unit. Okay, so and all of this is like theory content, so you have to go through all of this, and sometimes, right, you'll find some small videos as well for you to absorb any specific concept. Okay, so once you are done with reading of that particular concept, okay, once you have completed all of that, right, so there will be a small quiz or hands-on challenge at the end. Okay, so here, right, since I've already completed, I am not able to see anything, but in general you will find one quiz over here, a small quiz. Okay, once you complete that quiz, right, automatically this unit will be marked as completed. Okay, so once it is completed, right, so you will see a green tick mark here. Okay, so you have to complete that quiz at the end of the unit, right? That way, once you complete all the units that are there in a module, you will get a badge. Okay, for every unit, right, so that you complete, you'll get some points. Okay, and along with those points, right, once you complete a module, right, you will get some badges as well. Okay, so where do I get those badges and points, and where can I see that? Right, you can see all of them at your profile. Okay, so towards top right corner, right, so there is an icon, right? So the moment I hover on it, you can see my name and you can see my rank and the number of badges that I have and the number of points also that I have, right? So if you click on profile, it will directly take you to your profile wherein you can see all those things. Okay, so the number of badges that you have gained so far, the number of points that you have, and which rank that you are in, and all other stuff, right? So now let me just simply come down and see. It's all loading, right? The badges and all, right? See, I've completed 119 badges. That means I've completed 119 different modules. Okay, so that way, right, whenever you complete, you can see all of that. And how many certifications I have? I have 8 certifications. You can see certifications also here. Okay, so I'll tell about certifications in a moment, right? So, but that's how, right, you can see all of your profile over here. Okay, so this is what it is, right? So you'll have badges and you'll have something called super badges as well. Okay, so what are super badges? Super badges are like mini projects within Trailhead. Okay, so here you learn the concepts and you will right, so complete the hands-on or whatever right, in hands-on challenges or whatever quizzes that are there, you'll complete them and you'll earn points and all of it. But along with that, right, if you want to test your knowledge, you can test that with the help of what? Super badges. Okay, super badges are like mini projects that are there in our Trailhead, right? So I've just clicked on super badges. You can see that, right? Where can you find super badges? In credential section, if you click on this, you can find super badges. Okay, so based on your role, right, so there are, you can select a specific super badge and you can complete that super badge, so that, right, so it can be available on your profile. Okay, it can be available on your, so what is it, right, so Trailhead profile, so that you can showcase it either on your resume or, right, so maybe, right, so to any potential employers you can show that, right? The same way there are something called supersets as well. What are these supersets? Supersets are like group of super badges. Okay, if there are similar super badges specific to a right, so I mean, like, so yeah, specific to a skill, right? So what Salesforce has done is Salesforce has grouped all of them into supersets. Okay, so there is something called admin superset, right? So all admin related super badges grouped together into admin superset. There is a admin app builder superset, right? So all app builder related super badges, they have so grouped together under app builder superset, right? The same way, right, there are a lot of supersets also available, right? So once you complete group of similar super badges, you will be awarded superset as well, superset badge as well, right? So that also you can see it on your Trailhead profile. Okay, so this is what the Trailhead is all about. And, right, if you want to right, interact with any of the people, okay, if you want to interact with any of the people within right, the Salesforce ecosystem, you can interact with them as well, right? Like how you create your own right, Trailhead account, right? Many people could have created their own Salesforce accounts, sorry, Trailhead accounts, right? So even I have created my Trailhead account, right? So now if you want to see anyone, right, if you want to interact with any people, right, so what you can do, you can come to community, and within this community you'll have active feeds, groups, topics, and all other stuff, right? You can explore all of this on your own. This is not much very difficult to understand. Like if you are part of Facebook, or maybe, right, if you're using LinkedIn, so you might probably know groups already, right? So, and you are part of groups as well, right, in Facebook and LinkedIn and all of that, right? So here also, right, groups are just similar to that. And there is something called feed also. Feed is nothing but wall, right? If you go to LinkedIn, right, what we'll generally see, right, we'll have a wall over there, right? So on that wall you can see all the feed, right? So whatever posts that were posted by your connections and all of that stuff, right? We can see all of that, right? We can see all of that, right? So the same way, right, you can see your feed, right? So here in Trailhead as well. Okay, you can comment on other people's questions, right? You can ask something, right? So you can collaborate and all other stuff. Okay, so guys, can you hear me? Guys, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right, good. So these kind of things, right, so you can, right, the collaboration related stuff, right, you can directly, right, so have within this Trailblazer community. Okay, so once, right, you go there, you can see that. Okay, so that's what this is all about, like how we have the feed, right? So you can communicate and interact with different people on different posts, right? So on LinkedIn and all the other stuff, the same way, right? So you can interact with people within our Salesforce ecosystem, right? So within the Trailblazer community. Okay, so this is enough for, right, this is enough for you to know about Trailhead. So if you want to know more, you can just simply explore, right, what all things that are there in it, you'll be able to understand on your own. Okay, so as part of our hands-on, sometimes we'll give you to complete few of the Trailhead modules and few of the Trailhead super badges as well, along with our internal hands-on. Okay, along with our own hands-on, we will ask you to complete, Trailhead modules as well. So please make sure that you are completing all of them as part of your hands-on. Okay, so this is what Trailhead is all about, guys. So if you guys have any questions or something like that, so don't hesitate to reach out, so to our right, team, right? So throughout the day they'll be available. So they're happy to help you. Okay. With this, I am concluding this session. Have a lovely day.